Remember when a giant robot didn't need a brain to save the world? Gigantor was there. And honestly, the story behind it is wilder than the episodes themselves. Today we're uncovering 10 shocking facts about one of the most underrated cartoons of your childhood. Let's get into it.
They walk, they talk, they are so real you would think they are alive.
Number 10. Only 52 episodes made the cut. You think you watched the whole series back in the day? Think again. The Japanese original ran 97 episodes, but American TV networks decided that was too much of a good thing. Only 52 black and white episodes were selected and renamed Gigantor for US audiences. Imagine if your favorite show was cut in half before you even got to see it. That's like buying a pizza and only eating the first half because someone else decided that's plenty. Peter Fernandez, the voice of the show, rewrote much of the English script and essentially shaped what we remember today. He wasn't just voicing characters, he was rewriting the narrative. We never even knew what we were missing until decades later, when collectors tracked down the originals and realized the scope of what was cut.
There's a Keen robot made by Dr. Sharp of America. The one next to it is from Canada.
Holy mackerel!
Number 9. The violence got a serious haircut. America in the 1960s had opinions about what kids should watch. The American dub toned down on-screen violence compared to the Japanese original, and it showed in every frame. Fred Ladd created the dub, and Peter Rogers' organization distributed it, making calculated choices to protect young viewers from harder-edged sci-fi action. What's fascinating is how this shaped an entire generation's memory of the show. Kids grew up thinking Gigantor was wholesome Saturday morning entertainment, never realizing the original had sharper teeth. It's like watching a PG version of an R-rated film and not knowing the difference. Except nobody ever tells you there's an uncut version. This censorship wasn't accidental. It was deliberate localization that rewrote the show's DNA for American families.
Gigantor's giving up and running away now. Yeah, I think he's chickening out.
Number 8. Your favorite robot had zero brain power. Here's the plot twist nobody talks about. Gigantor was dumb. Completely dumb. The giant steel robot had no intelligence of its own. It was basically a flying tank remote-controlled by a 12-year-old named Jimmy Sparks. Whoever held the remote controlled everything. No AI, no autonomy. Just pure, mechanical obedience. That remote control was the show's entire premise, and it's genius when you think about it. In the then-distant year of 2000, young Jimmy lived on a remote island with his uncle, Dr. Bob Brilliant, operating this rocket-powered machine that responded to his every command. It's like action figures came to life, except the action figures could actually fight giant monsters and save the world. The brilliance wasn't in Gigantor's programming. It was in the chaos of giving a kid ultimate power and seeing what he'd do with it. Every episode hinged on that one simple concept.
Hey you truck drivers, get out of the truck with your hands up.
Number 7. The character names got hilariously Americanized. The English adaptation didn't just translate the dialogue, it reinvented the entire cast with names that screamed 1960s Americana. A funny policeman became Inspector Blooper. Enemies got whimsical names like The Spider, Double Trouble, and Dr. Cat's Meow. You can practically hear the Madison Avenue pitch meeting happening in real time. This wasn't lazy writing, it was intentional westernization at its finest. The show's producers understood that American kids needed characters they could instantly recognize and remember without any cultural friction. Inspector Blooper sounds funny and approachable. Dr. Cat's Meow feels slightly menacing, but not too serious for a kids' show. Every renamed character was a calculated, creative choice to make the show feel like it truly belonged in American living rooms. It worked perfectly, which is why these names stuck in your memory all these decades later.
Let's get out of his way!
Number 6. A weapon turned peace guardian. Originally, Gigantor wasn't built to save the world. It was built to destroy it. Jimmy Sparks' father developed the giant robot as a weapon, but later reprogrammed it to become a guardian of peace instead. That's a massive moral pivot for a show marketed to kids and their parents. Think about that deeply. The entire foundation of the series is redemption through repurposing. A weapon becomes a protector, and Jimmy, just 12 years old, carries that responsibility, literally carrying a firearm alongside his uncle as they tackle worldwide threats from their remote island base. It's darker than Saturday morning cartoons usually get, but it works somehow. The show balanced sci-fi action with a surprisingly mature message about responsibility and choosing peace over power, all wrapped in giant robot adventure. That's layered storytelling.
This is a holdup. We want the gold. Okay, Blastro, do your stuff.
Number 5. It premiered the same year the Beatles broke America. Gigantor hit US television in January 1966, right in the cultural sweet spot when American pop culture was exploding in every direction. While kids were discovering the Beatles and watching Batman on TV, this giant robot anime was syndicated straight into afternoon slots across America. The timing was perfect for capturing young imaginations. Here's where it gets interesting. There's conflicting information about whether the show debuted in 1964 or January 1966, depending on which source you trust. But 1966 is the widely accepted date for its major US syndication push across the country. Whatever the exact year, Gigantor arrived during one of the most transformative moments in American entertainment history. It slipped into that cultural window when audiences were hungry for anything futuristic and action-packed. Smart timing doesn't explain everything, but it definitely helped.
All right, let's go. Cover your face, troll.
Number 4. The voice cast was tiny but mighty. Here's a production secret that blows people away. A handful of voice actors covered the entire show. Billy Lou Watt voiced Jimmy Sparks, Ray Owens voiced Inspector Blooper, and Gilbert Mack voiced Dick Strong. Peter Fernandez, the show's voice director and adapter, layered in additional characters on top of his scriptwriting duties. It's like a vocal version of one-man band filmmaking. These actors had to nail dozens of different characters across 52 episodes, switching between comedy and drama, civilian and villain, without breaking a beat or losing authenticity. Modern animated shows have 10 times the voice cast, and still sound less authentic or cohesive overall. That's the magic of the 1960s dubbing era. Constraint forced creativity, and raw talent made it absolutely shine. The limitation became the show's secret weapon.
No sign of the box.
Do you hear a robot?
Sounds
Number 3. The dub was recorded in a New York studio you've never heard of. Every word you heard as a kid was recorded at Titra Studios in New York during 1964 to 1965. Peter Fernandez directed and adapted the dub, meaning he shaped not just the voices, but the rhythm and pacing of how English-speaking audiences experienced every episode. This wasn't outsourced or scattered across different facilities. It was centralized, intentional creative control. Titra Studios recorded everything in-house, which means all 52 episodes flowed through the same creative vision and production standards. That consistency is exactly why the dub feels so cohesive and professional, even when you're rewatching it today in HD. The studio's precision and attention to detail established the gold standard for anime dubbing in America that wouldn't be matched for years. Everything that came after owed something significant to what Peter Fernandez and his team accomplished in that New York recording facility. That's a legacy.
all right, Dick, then I'll meet you in the Aleutian Islands and we'll solve this once and for all.
Number 2. It vanished, then came roaring back on Cartoon Network. For years, Gigantor felt like a forgotten piece of Saturday morning history, relegated to dusty VHS collections and faded memories. Then Cartoon Network revived it during Giant Robot Week, February 24th to 28th, 2003. introducing the show to a brand new generation of kids. But here's the kicker. Adult Swim brought it back again on April Fool's Day 2012 as a surprise retro event. Think about what that means. The show was considered nostalgic enough to warrant not one but two major revivals on cable television within a decade. Cartoon Network executives believed that Gigantor had staying power, that its charm transcended the original airing window and spoke across generations. They were absolutely right about that. Every revival introduced kids who'd never heard of the show to an artifact that their parents and grandparents grew up with. That's the definition of a cultural touchstone that refuses to die.
The answer is no. My goodness, young man, we want to save him too. That's why we were arguing so many hours.
Number 1. It set the blueprint for every anime dub that followed. Here's the big one. Gigantor didn't just arrive in America. It established the standard for how anime would be adapted for Western audiences moving forward. Fred Ladd's decisions about censorship, localization, and character renaming became the playbook. Peter Fernandez's voice direction proved that dubs could be emotionally authentic and engaging, not just mechanically translated. Every anime that came after, Speed Racer, Astro Boy, Voltron, followed paths that Gigantor helped pioneer and establish. The show was more than a series. It was a masterclass in cultural adaptation and creative problem-solving. These weren't lazy choices made in a conference room. They were deliberate, artistic decisions that asked, how do we honor the original while making it feel authentically American? The answer Gigantor provided shaped decades of childhood memories for millions of viewers worldwide.
Look, he came back when you told him to.
Bonus fact: the year 2000 felt impossibly distant. The show was set in the then distant year of 2000, which sounded like pure science fiction when kids watched it in the 1960s. 2000 felt like the distant future, impossibly far away in ways modern audiences can't quite grasp. Now that we've lived through 2000 and beyond, rewatching those episodes hits different and feels almost poignant. That futuristic setting grounds the show in a specific moment in time, an era when people genuinely wondered what the world would look like 35 years later. It's a beautiful time capsule of optimistic futurism. Watching Gigantor today means watching 1960s optimism about the year 2000 collide head-on with our actual reality. That gap between expectation and what actually happened, that's what makes the show unforgettable and weirdly touching. From the dubbing studio in New York to the cultural impact that echoed through decades of entertainment, Gigantor was so much more than a giant robot fighting monsters. It was a masterclass in adaptation, a blueprint for everything that came after in anime television, and proof that sometimes the best stories are hiding in plain sight. And remember, Gigantor might not have had a brain, but this show had heart, and that's what made it matter. Stay nostalgic, friends.